Hey everyone, this is Daniel from PV Prep, and today I'll be doing some SAT math review. In this video, I'll be sharing with you two helpful tips that will make some of these problems just a little bit easier to solve. Also, as a side note, all the problems I'll be working on today are coming from the SAT practice test number 1, which can be found on the College Board website. So let's begin with tip number 1, which is to use the answer choices to your advantage. So what does this mean exactly? Simply put, this just means to take the answer choices and to plug it into the question to see if it is the right answer choice. So let's take a look at number 1. If x minus 1 over 3 is equal to k and k is equal to 3, what is the value of x? Now, normally I can go ahead and just solve for x in this problem, but rather than doing that, I can simply take some of the answer choices, plug it in for x, and hopefully get 3 as the end result. Now, which value do I choose? Do I choose 2, 4, 9, or 10? Now, if I'm looking at what I will have to be doing to these numbers, I am subtracting 1 and then dividing 3. So looking at 2 and 4, those two numbers are simply too small to give 3 as an end result. So I'm going to cross those two out. Bonus tip: the process of elimination on this test and any multiple choice test is going to be your best friend because it's just so helpful to reduce the odds of getting a wrong answer. I'd rather take 50%, which I have now, over 25% any day. So looking at the final two answer choices, I have 9 and 10. Let's start with number 9. If I plug in 9 for x, I have 9 minus 1 over 3. And so that gives me 8 minus 1. Oh, sorry, not 8 minus 1. It gives me 8 over 3, which is not 3, so 9 is wrong, leaving me with 10 as the final answer and the correct answer. So what I did here is I used the answer choice, I substituted it into the problem, and I found the correct answer. So next is this. We have a system of equations, and the question is asking us to find the solution to the system of equations. So just like the previous problem, I'm going to take the answer choices and substituting it back into the problem. So unlike the first problem that we just did, I don't have a ballpark estimation as to what the values could be. So rather than choosing a specific value, I can just start at letter A. So what I'll be doing is substituting this -5 for the x's on both equations and the -2 for the y's on both equations, with the intention of getting -23 and -19 as the end result. So with the first equation, I have 3 times -5 plus 4 times -2, right? And that gives me -15 plus -8, and -15 plus -8 is indeed -23. So that checks out. Let's try the second equation. 2 times -2 minus -5. So 2 times -2, that gives me -4 minus -5, so plus 5. That gives me 1, which is not equal to -19. So A is out of the question. So let's try B. 3 times 3 plus 4 times -8. So 3 times 3 is 9 plus -32 And if I add those two together, 9 plus negative 32 is, in fact, negative 23. And let's try the second equation. 2 times negative 8 minus 3. So 2 times negative 8, just draw a line here, that's negative 16. Minus 3, that gives us negative 19. That checks out and that checks out, which means that B is my answer. Cool. On to the next problem. We have 8, which is found on section 4 of the test, which says, for what value of n is the absolute value of n minus 1 plus 1 equal to 0? So let me go ahead and rewrite this section here and make it n minus 1 plus 1 is equal to 0 rather than having the equal to there. So in this problem, I can solve it like how I did the other problems, in which I can substitute the answer choices in for the variable and hoping to get the correct end result. However, given the nature of the absolute value, and if we ask ourselves what happens to any number that goes inside of the absolute value, right? Any number that goes inside of the absolute value comes out a positive number. So if I have a positive number coming out of this, and I'm adding another positive number, I'm adding 1 to it, there would be no scenario whatsoever that would get me to 0, because the only way that would get this to 0 would be if I had a negative number adding 1 to it. So if I had negative 1 plus 1, that would give me 0. But in this case, since the only output of the absolute value can only be positive, neither A, B, or C would work. And there is no such value of n that would give you a negative 1 as the output of the absolute value. So D, sorry, I crossed that out. D is in fact the correct answer in this case. So number 11, last problem for the first tip. It's pretty straightforward. Which of the following numbers is not a solution of the inequality of 3x minus 5, which is greater than or equal to 4x minus 3? I want to add a little bit of emphasis on the word not here. I know it's in all caps, but sometimes it is easy to forget that that word not is there, which basically means that if I substitute the answer choice in for the variable and then get a correct answer, then it is in fact the wrong answer, right? That's what that not means. Other words that can be used are except, only, right? And so another bonus tip, pay attention to the wording of some of these problems because it can be a little bit tricky. So starting with A, I'm going to go ahead and substitute that. Again, I'm looking for something that does not work. So if I substitute negative 1 in for x, I get 3 times negative 1 minus 5 is greater than or equal to 4 times negative 1 minus 3. So that gives me on the left negative 3 minus 5, which gives me negative 8, which is greater than or equal to negative 4 minus 3, which is negative 7. So the end result is negative 8 being greater than or equal to negative 7. Now this isn't true. And since it isn't true, I can go ahead and say that A is in fact my answer because we're looking for a wrong answer. All right, so that's it for tip 1. But why don't we go ahead and move on to tip number 2. And tip number 2 is whenever you have undefined variables, meaning that the variables within the question and even within the answer don't have any specific numerical value, it is safe in most cases to make up a number for that variable to help you better solve that problem. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like, starting with number 8 found in section 3. Right, it says here, if a over b is equal to 2, what is the value of 4b over a? So in this problem, a doesn't have a specific numerical value, b doesn't have a specific numerical value. Right, you can't find it in the question, you can't find it in the answer. So what can you do? Well, in this case, we can make up a number for A, we can make up a number for B to help us solve the problem. Because I don't know about you, I'd rather solve a problem dealing with only numbers than solve a problem that deals with variables with no number associated with them, at least not yet. So I can go ahead and pick any number or any number that coincides with the condition being set here. So if a over b is equal to 2, that pretty much states that a is twice the size of b. So I can set a into, let's say, 6. So I can say that a is equal to 6 and b is equal to 3, because b is half of 3. And we can go ahead and check that if I have 6 over 3, that does give me 2. So that's correct. And so what I can do there is use these two values, use that 6 and use that 3, and substitute it into this, right? And that'll give me 4 times 3 over 6, which is, let's draw a line here, 12 over 6, which is 2, right? And this is my final answer. So that is C. As far as what numbers you can use to substitute in for the variable, it's best that you use numbers that are easier to manage, so smaller numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3. But if you're working with decimals or percentages or even money, you can use numbers like 10 or 100. Or if you're working with things like time, right, variables revolving around time, you can use numbers like 7, 24, 30, and 60. But numbers that are easy to manage, easy to work with, right? So those are the numbers that you want to use when you're making up a number for these variables, when you're assigning numbers to these variables. So let's take a look at number 13. So if x is greater than 3, which of the following is equivalent to that expression, right? And as you can see here, this x here has no specific value. There's no specific value for x, and it's not found in the question. It's not found in the answers, right? The only constraint telling us what x could be is in this very first part of the question, if x is greater than 3, right? And so since our variable is undefined in both the question and the answer, I can go ahead and make up a number as long as it meets that criteria of being greater than 3, right? So I can go ahead and use the next smallest whole number, which is 4, right? So I can say that x is equal to 4. Let's say x is equal to 4. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug in 4 into the problem and plug in 4 into the answer choices. And whichever answer choice gives me the same end result as the question, then that is the correct answer. So what that looks like is this. So I'm going to do 1 over 4 plus 2, right? Which is just 7. So I'm just going to replace that with a 7. Plus 1 over 4 plus 3, which is 7. I realized that 4 plus 2 is not 7, but 6. Excuse me for that. Giving me the question of 1 over 1/6 plus 1/7. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd rather deal with um, adding 1/6 and 1/7 versus adding fractions with variables in them. It's a lot easier to manage if you have concrete numbers to work with rather than variables that can be, any number, right? So 1 over 1/6 plus 1/7. So the reciprocal of 1/6 plus 1/7. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly add those two fractions together. So I'm going to convert 1/6 into 7 over 42 plus 6 over 42, right? If you don't know what I did, I multiplied 7 over 7 to 1/6, and I multiplied 6 over 6 to 1/7, right? Which gives me the end result of 13 over 42. Let me clean that up a little bit. 13 over 42. And so the question is asking us, which of the following is equivalent to 1 over 13 over 42, or the reciprocal of 13 over 42, aka 42 over 13. So I'm being asked to find 42 over 13 in the answer choices, right? And the benefit that I have of knowing this number, 42 over 13, is that I can rule out some of the answer choices, right? I have a fraction. I'm trying to look for a fraction. So I can go ahead and remove C and remove D, because those two won't exactly give me fractions if I substitute 4 in for X. So I can get rid of C and I can get rid of D. So leaving me with just two answer choices, A or B. So I can go ahead and substitute it 4 in for X in both, and whichever one gives me 42 over 13 is going to be the correct answer. So starting with A, 2 times 4 is 8. So 2 times 4 plus 5 over 4 squared plus 5 times 4 plus 6. I'm going to go ahead and clear up some of this space. Right? So 2 times 4 is 8 plus 5. 8 plus 5 is 13. And right off the bat, since I have 13 in the numerator, I already know that A is wrong, which leaves me with B being my correct answer. Again, process of elimination is going to be your best friend during this test and any multiple choice tests that you'll be taking in the future. So moving on to another problem, we have problem number 14. Now, this is a little bit more obscure. Making up a number wouldn't be necessarily readily apparent, but again, it still meets the conditions. We have unspecified variables. Each of these variables don't have a specific number attached to them, although there is a relationship between them. And that is enough for us to make up a number for the variables. So this one's a little bit more complex, like I said, because it has to deal with exponents and certain rules about exponents. But if you don't know the rules about exponents, we can do this. Say if 3x minus y is equal to 12, well, what happens if I set x into a number like 0, right? Let's say let x equal 0, right? So if x is equal to 0, 3 times 0 minus y is equal to 12, which means that y here, negative y, is equal to 12. So y is equal to negative 12. So now that we have those two numbers, we can go ahead and plug them in to 8x over 2 to the y, 8 to the x over 2 to the y, which gives me 8 to the 0 power over 2 to the negative 12th power. And 8 to the 0 power, any number to the 0 power, is going to be just 1. And 2 to the negative 12th power, that will give me 1 over 2 to the 12th, right? And so to simplify this, it's the reciprocal of 1 over 2 to the 12th. So that will just give me 2 to the 12th. And there we have our answer. 2 to the 12th is going to be my answer. So the answer here is A. Awesome. So let's move on to our final problem. This is a problem in which we are working with percents and money. So again, like I said, if you're working with money, if you're working with percents and decimals, sometimes it's best to use numbers like 10 or even 100, because percents are easier to work with when you're taking percents out of 100. So number 20, it says Alma bought a laptop computer at a store that gave a 20% discount off its original price. The total amount that she paid to the cashier was P dollars, including an 8% sales tax on the discounted price. Which of the following represents the original price of the computer in terms of P, right? So P is unspecified. The original price is unspecified. There are a lot of variables that don't have specific numerical values, which is perfect for us because we can make up those numerical values. And so we can say that the laptop computer, since it's going to have a 20% discount, let's just say that the original price of the laptop is $100 because it's easy to take a 20% discount off of $100. So let's say the original price, right? Let's set that to the variable of X. Or no, we don't have to. We'll just say the original price is $100, right? And to get P, I had, which is the value that Alma paid, I have to get the 20% discount, which is $80, and add an 8% sales tax on the discounted price. So adding an 8% sales tax, I just get 8% of 80, which is 6.4. So $80 is the discounted price, the sales tax. So discount, let me label this discount. The tax is $6.04, which means that the total price, so P, is 86.4, right? Now what we're going to use this information for is to substitute it into our answer choices. And so if I plug in 86.4 into my answer choice and get 100 as the end result, then that answer choice is the correct answer. So let's start with A. 0.88 times 86.4. 0.88 times 86.4 is 76.03, which is wrong. So A is out of here. Next problem, answer choice is 86.4 divided by 0.88. So 86.4 divided by 0.88. Let me go ahead and write that on the side. 0.88. That gives me $98.18. So B is wrong. What about C? So I have 86.4. So 0.8. So 0.8 times 1.08 times 86.4. So if I put that into a calculator, 0.8 times 1.08 times 86.4 is 74, which is incorrect. And since all the other answer choices are exhausted, we have D as our final answer. And there you have it. Those are 2 tips that you can use that'll help make the math section just a little bit easier to do, and hopefully it'll help improve some of your scores. My name is Daniel, and this is PV Prep. Thank you so much for watching.